All right, so you're looking at making the move to Orlando and you know you want to make the move. Well, in this video, I'm going to be going into Google Maps and we're going to be talking about as much as I can possibly fit in this video about different areas of Orlando, some awesome things, possible distances between things that you have to be doing, and maybe any just random topics that I can think of to give you a better idea of what it's like living in Orlando and just some different ideas that you maybe not have thought about when it comes to making that move out here. So let's get to it. Hey everyone, my name is Cameron Hodge, coming at you from eXp Realty here in Orlando, Florida, and here with me is my lovely assistant Donovan. He's my oldest, and in this video we wanted to go over just some like big things you need to be looking at when it comes to making that move out here, and I just wanted to go through the whole map and just kind of go over every single detail about making that move. And I have to say we are always getting reach outs days, nights, weekends about people making that move to Orlando who need help, and we absolutely love it here on the team. So if that's you're looking at making the move, reach out, give us a call, text, email, whatever you have to do. We have your back when it comes to making that move to Orlando, Florida. All right, so without that, let's get into it. All right, everyone. So, man, if this is like your first video and you're just now getting the thought of making the move to Orlando, I just kind of wanted to go over the whole thing. So this right here between, you look like Daytona all the way to Tampa is what many would call Central Florida. And I know a lot of you, we get a lot of reach outs talking about comparing Tampa and Orlando. So I wanted to start with giving you a general overview about like really the distance between both areas. So as you can see, Tampa is also going to be on the Gulf Coast. Orlando, which is obviously landlocked, if you don't already know, now you know. And it is something for you to consider if like a beach is really big into your thoughts. So all right, so when everyone looks at Orlando, they have a lot of different ideas of what's right? So the big thing is like obviously everyone always considers the beach, but if you're like us and like beach isn't a huge deal, like Orlando I think is an amazing thing, especially as it's getting more crowded than it used to be, but it's still an awesome place to consider because everyone always goes to the coast in Florida. Orlando's still that place where like it's amazing communities, amazing people, and it's really overall great. So what we're going to start off here, like I think recently one of the big areas that I have been getting reach outs about is what's going to be Winter Garden. So Winter Garden is a really awesome community. I do love it. The price point is going to be a little bit higher, but it's overall like it's right on Lake Apopka, and you can get some amazing communities here that, you know, they're definitely more upscale. So if you want like a safe community, I have definitely some older clients who have purchased here as well. There's still a lot of great families, but I think a lot of times it's going to be the price point that really deters people. But if you can afford it, it's like one of those communities that I think is really amazing. You can potentially get some homes on the lake if that is what's in your budget. But overall, like you're really close to everything, right? Like you're 14 minutes from downtown Orlando. You're right here, like I said, on the lake. And it's overall amazing. So Winter Garden is awesome. I will say though, if you are looking for some land, depending on your budget, Winter Garden might not be the place where you're looking to do that. So I know like it was out of our budget at the time when we moved out here, and it also didn't give us quite the amount of land that we wanted to. So it's something to consider, but it's definitely one of those communities that lately I've been definitely getting a lot of reach outs about. And building off of that, you also have Horizon West. So Horizon West is a huge area when you look at it overall. They definitely got some awesome new construction that's going on here. As you can see, you got a Walmart here. You got an awesome golf area, and in retrospect, if you see where you have right here and you have Horizon West, and there's some amazing planned communities that are coming in here and some that are already built, and it's really an amazing place. So I have to say, like if you're looking at Winter Garden, I really would have you consider looking at Horizon West, because it can potentially give you an awesome area where you can also get a newer home and potentially more land. Again, it depends on your budget, but it really could be an awesome area that people really need to consider. Also, it's on that inland side towards Tampa of Orlando, and I think it gives people a lot of great location. Also, if you're like my wife and you're a Disney nut, you have Disney World right here. So for those of you as well that are looking at Orlando, you have to see like this is where Disney World is, and this is where we're going to get like the Universal and all those theme parks are going to be in this section right here. There you go. You got Universal right there, and then obviously Disney World right there. So it's all in this section of Orlando. And so a lot of people, when they reach out, they love they want to be close to the theme parks and all that stuff. So I always tell people you need to consider like where it's located, but I will say like when you get closer to it, it's going to get more pricey. And unfortunately, it's a lot of things people consider. Also, we do get reach outs when it comes to second homes. You need to understand that a lot of these communities, like Dr. Phillips, and then when you go inland towards like Davenport and all these, a lot of them have minimum lease requirements. So you have to consider, if you are looking for a second home before making that permanent move, a lot of these cities technically do have lease minimums that would prevent you from renting out short term on those properties. Now, if you've ever driven or flown, but if you ever visited Disney World, one of the areas that I think a lot of people stay in when it comes to short-term rentals for those trips is Kissimmee. So I don't mind Kissimmee. I will say it's an awesome community. You know, it's centrally located. It's not too hard to get to the Four if you're trying to travel into Orlando. It's really closer to the airport, which is going to be located right here. So Kissimmee is really great located, but that's also why it tends to be a really big short-term rental hub. Now, because of that, when you have investors and you have, people that have a little bit more money to buy those second homes, the price point is going to be higher. It's just going to be. It's also, like I said, being so close to the airport, so close to Disney World, and right on the beaten path to get into Universal. It's one of those areas where people always kind of look at it, but I have to say, being short-term rentals is something that people need to consider when it comes to making that move, because it might not be the community for you, especially since I do feel like it's getting more crowded, and with people having short-term rentals, I've managed rentals as well. I've owned my own, and I can say that it can be annoying when you live in your permanent area and you have those homes next to you when they just have a constant inflow of people that you just don't know who they are. All right, so next to Kissimmee, I am moving in this direction, St. Cloud. So we love St. Cloud. It was actually one of the top areas we were looking at when we were initially making that trip out here. I love St. Cloud. There's definitely some new construction going on there. If you have the budget, there's definitely some opportunity to get some amazing homes. One thing I didn't like, and it's not like it's super out of the way, but I will say that it's kind of tedious to get to compared to some other cities where, depending on your budget, you can be along the Four, you can be an easy way to get to and from downtown, all that stuff. But when it comes to, being really centrally located, it felt more tucked away. And not so much in a good way. They have a lot of awesome shops. I think the community is amazing. There's a lot of cool people there, a lot of events that go on for that area. But for us, it just felt a little bit harder to get to the airport and Disney World compared to some other areas where it's a lot easier. You're closer to that Four and you can just come and go a lot better. But like I said, if you're looking at getting tucked away and you don't mind that drive to some of those bigger attractions, it's awesome because you really get tucked away. You can get a little bit more land for your budget in most homes there. It's just all around just feels like a really clean and safe community, and I think it's definitely something that people should consider if you're looking at a community that is very upscale but at the same time just has a really good overall group of people. And obviously, there's always these communities in between. So, the big thing I'm looking at here is just, some of the bigger names that people are going to see when you look up moving to Orlando. So, another area moving back towards the Four, which is right next to Universal, is Dr. Phillips. This is definitely another one that is one of, if you look up Orlando, this is going to be one of the top areas you see to live for people that have a higher range budget. Dr. Phillips is an amazing community. There's definitely still some opportunities for people to build homes here. There's not much though. It's definitely pretty built out, but at the same time, you have a lot of, you have some country clubs. There's a lot of smaller lakes at the Dr. Phillips border, so you can get homes that are on smaller lakes. It's right next to infrastructure. You're literally in Orlando. And for a lot of people, they still have a lot of amenities like Trader Joe's and all those kind of stores that people really don't want to get away from. But at the same time, you get to, like I said, you're near Universal, you're all right off the Four where you can travel to Disney World. And it's one of those communities that I think if people that have a higher range budget, they look at Dr. Phillips because they're this is awesome. It's a super safe community. It has amazing homes. You can get some awesome deals depending on your budget But at the same time, like I said, for a lot of people, it is going to be at that higher range budget. And so it usually can be tougher, especially if you have a lower income and you're looking to make a move to that area. But Dr. Phillips is definitely one of those top communities. If you love living in suburbs and you love being close to where everything is, but maybe not living in downtown, Dr. Phillips definitely should be something that should be on your budget. And let's see, moving on. So what I'm going to cover real quick is I've done videos on this before, and obviously we chose to build new construction when we made the move to Orlando. And I've had a couple people reach out because they have a longer timeline and they're like, hey, like I'm definitely looking at building a home because I want what I can't have in the state that I'm from. And I will say that's great. But when it comes to a lot of these areas I covered, like St. Cloud, Dr. Phillips, like if you do find lots, either one, they're going to be super tiny, or two, they're going to be very expensive, and you have to make sure you understand that you're staying within a budget. So that's why like a Horizon West I think is an awesome idea, but because there's so much new construction going on there already, it's definitely building out. So where we actually chose is a lot of people really want to be in Orlando. So we love being close to everything. We knew we wanted to be on the 4, but at the same time, we knew as a family that we didn't want to be in the suburbs. We wanted to build a home, feel like we were tucked away a little bit, but like I said, still able to get to all those amenities. So a lot of people always look at Orlando itself like you have to live in these areas. But keep in mind, when you go down the 4, this is where a lot of progress and construction is building. They're slowly building away from the city and building along the 4 because there's so much more land opportunities for people to build. So one area that we ended up building in is Davenport. So Davenport it's definitely a city where, like I said, we've talked about this before in retrospect, and the schools are okay. When you look at all of Orlando, like this is obviously you get into Polk County, and Polk County it's definitely getting built out. So Polk County, if you ever looked at like the Polk County Sheriff, like people always look at it and like, oh, it's like the lower class living, it's more unsafe, and it's like anything, like any city or any area, like it all depends on where you're building. I will say though, because new construction is building out so heavily from the city, you're getting a lot of newer communities, a lot of awesome middle class families that are moving in, and overall, like I think in the next 5 years, it's gonna start changing more than it already is. And it's something to consider when you're making the move out here. But Davenport has a lot of new construction, but it allowed us the ability to be we're 28 minutes from Disney, which is what we wanted, because it's that good gap to be away from all the craziness when it's big tourism season. But at the same time, Davenport allowed us to have a slightly bigger lot. And while we're close to everything, like it doesn't take that long for us to get to any major stores. But at the same time, like we feel tucked away in our home. We're close to everything, but we don't have that suburb feel. We don't have HOAs. Like we felt tucked away. And like there's also can be some homes that are more on people's budget. But I will say, like anything when it comes to Polk County, like you really need to get boots on the ground, because like one section of the area could be awesome, especially if you're in new construction, but then all of a sudden you move away from one area and then you're gonna be like, oh man, like where am I? This is like not where I would raise a family. So it's, like I said, this area is building out. It definitely has a lot of opportunity, but keep in mind that you need to make sure you choose the right area and drive the areas, because one area might be good than the other. So when we initially made the move out here, we actually stayed in a short-term rental in Lake Alfred. So I'm not trying to get farther away from Orlando. This is the last thing I'm going to cover heading this way. And we initially, like most people, like you look at Orlando, especially if you have a tighter budget when you're making the move out here, is, you want to be close to the city, but realize like it's not too bad. And you get closer to Lakeland. Lakeland is exactly in between Tampa and Orlando, closer to Tampa a little bit, which is why it's such a big area and they're building so much new construction, because obviously that's where everyone wants to move, because whether they want to go to Tampa or Orlando, they get the best of both worlds being in between both. But Lake Alfred to us was like super out of the way. It felt like it was such a pain in the butt. Like it definitely is more out there, a little bit older communities depending on what area you buy in Lake Alfred. And I'm just like, man, like this is just really tucked away from where we want to be. Lakeland's great. I will say, like we weren't super happy with the safety of Lakeland. Not that there aren't great communities, like they're building a lot of new construction, and in time you will see a lot of that crime probably go down, especially as more families and better money gets spent in these areas. But like Lake Alfred was out of the way, which is why we chose Davenport, because with all the new construction and the infrastructure that's being built to support that, it's not that bad to be able to hop on the 4 and then get back to all those major things that we were so in love with, but we were still able to get away from the city. Now, I will say that while this is awesome, especially if you want to be right next to the resorts, one thing that I think is really, people always look at this area because it's along the 4 and all those things, but after moving here and coming back when we finally moved into our home, North Orlando, I feel like, has a lot of opportunity that people don't necessarily always look at. Now, I will say, so when you come here to like Apopka, right? I think this is awesome. There is definitely new construction heading up this way towards Zellwood as well. And Apopka is still along those major routes where you can get to the theme parks and you're not too far away. You have a lot of amenities, stores, hospitals. Like I still enjoy it a lot. Schools are great. But I will say that other than this area here, so we are obviously like we aspire to one day actually have a small farm, which one thing great about Florida is you can have that and still be near everything. Now, I will say, I really love when you head to like Lake Mary and these communities up here. Most of the public schools up here are going to be awesome for the family, and you're tucked away. You're going to get more land and a little bit more home for the same price you'd be paying in like these communities here, or you know, even be able to have a budget land when you move up here. So this whole area here around Lake Mary, I really love it. I think you can find great communities, but it feels like you're tucked away from the city, but in retrospect, like you're not that far, right? So like when you do, let's do directions here to like, let's do the airport. So if you take the toll road, you're 34 minutes from the airport. Also, actually, that's another thought. Keep in mind, you are in Florida. If you're coming from like the West, like we did, like California, Arizona, all those states, like you don't really have toll roads ever. So you have to realize, coming to the East Coast, like I grew up in the country of New York, like we had to pay just to use the 90. Like trust me, like you're gonna have to, there are toll roads. Like you can avoid them, but it usually look, if you avoid it, like you really can't avoid toll roads. So like you really have to keep in mind where you're living, especially if you want to avoid those tolls. It's not that much personally. Like I would gladly pay it to get to and from areas faster. That's just us. We keep that in our budget, and it's something like to keep in mind. So, but you're 34 minutes from the airport. I don't know. I grew up like the same distance from a hospital growing up. So to me, it's not a big deal. But some people that may be like, nope, not going to happen. I don't like it. I think the area is great. I think there's awesome golf courses. You can feel tucked away. Moving that direction, you can get homes that have a little bit more land to them. Or at the same time, you can live in those communities. The crime's low. Schools are great. So overall, like I love it. The same thing with Oviedo over here. If you want to be tucked away, be close to the area, but get a little more space, but feel that serenity away from all the chaos that is this area in short-term rentals, I highly suggest you consider these areas. I've done a video on it before. Schools are great. I think we would have actually, in retrospect, we might have actually looked up here more, but for some reason, like when you first come to Orlando, like you just look at these areas here, like Winter Garden, Horizon West, which is great. If you love the suburbs, you love the upscale communities, gated communities, like this whole section here, you're going to be able to find that there. And if you have a higher budget, like it's no issue, you can find an awesome home. But at the same time, in order to get sometimes in a lower budget but still that serenity, you do have to head more on the 4. But for people who want to stay in Orlando, then this up here is awesome. Like it has that country feel. I think the people are great, and public schools are awesome. So it's like that tucked away feel, but you're really not that far from central Orlando. Now, I will say as well, new construction is also heading more towards Zellwood as well. And when I say new construction, so like when you get closer to Disney World, like you do have new condos that are getting built. And if you're just single moving out here, like sure, go ahead. Look at Disney World, look at like the condo options. But if you're like me, like I can only afford a condo in California because it's so freaking expensive. And when I come out here, I wanted a house. That's what I wanted. We were not negotiating on that like that. That's what we're doing with kids. Yeah, if you ever lived in a condo with kids, it's miserable. So Zellwood is another option. I will say the more you go up towards Zellwood and like towards this lake, like Mount Dora and all that stuff, like you definitely get away from a lot of amenities that people love. It is an option. Like, have you ever heard like coming from New York, we hear a lot of people who come out here during the winter because they're older The Villages, which is an awesome community of a bunch of different communities. The Villages are awesome. So that's another area people to look at. But I will say, if you're looking to stay in Orlando, when you start getting out here, your travel time to get to a lot of the city things really increases, especially with traffic. But they are building some new construction here, and in time, it'll definitely build itself out with more shops and stuff. But it's just that time factor, you know? So overall, there's a lot of different options for you to consider when it comes to making out here. If you love the suburb life, so every city has suburbs, whether it's Winter Garden, whether it's Lake Mary, like you can feel that suburb feel anywhere you go. But you need to consider like what your goals are as a family. Like, you know, do you want space? Do you want some land? Like, what do you want when it comes to making that move out here? So, and you know, everyone doesn't always consider moving along the 4. I will say though, like it gets iffy when it comes to safety. Like we're like in Davenport, like new construction is so heavy there, and the prices have definitely increased a little bit to where a lot of like it's just a lot of that danger side of the society is definitely moving out. It's getting nicer. They have more money coming into the community as people come pay their tax dollars. Like it's definitely building out. I think in time it's gonna be awesome. Like, you know, even in Davenport, they built a new community center. Like there's all these things that are being built there, and eventually, like from here all the way up, you're gonna see a lot of it's gonna be completely changed. Even when I came like 10 years before, like it is amazing how much people are moving here and how much greater these communities are getting than when I came here, that 10-year difference. So, you know, like I said, the safety gets an issue when you go along the 4. In time, it will get better, and it is an awesome area if you're just looking at appreciation. But I will say, like looking at North Orlando, like it's I don't know why people don't always look at this area, but if you're wanting some space, you're okay with being a little bit north from like all like the city and the airport, like it's not bad. You can get more home, some more land for the same budget that you would in these areas, but the safety is great. The schools are awesome. So it's something that I always say, hey, you need to consider it when you make that trip out here and travel around and find what you do and do not like. Because even like I said before with St. Cloud, when we had come out here, St. Cloud, like we loved the community. There were some awesome homes. Everyone was great. But it just felt really annoying to get to and from things. I know it sounds weird talking about North Orlando and all that, but there's a lot of amenities up here where it wasn't too bad to get to. But in St. Cloud, I felt like we had to go that extra distance to get back on the highway. And I feel like we were always having to take toll roads. Like there wasn't a choice. Not that it's true. It's just something to consider. You know, St. Cloud might be great for a lot of people, but we wanted to see everything when we came out here. And it was just kind of annoying to be in that area when it comes to making that move. But overall, you know, there's a lot of great areas. Like I said, you know, if you're really looking at doing in, whoops, if I could spell. All right, so when you see me reference downtown Orlando, this is it right here. So if you really do want to get that city feel, you have this is everything here, and there's a lot, and everything really depends on your business. Like, are you living in a condo? Are you trying to get a home? You know, what are you trying to do? But downtown Orlando is right here, and then reference to all the places we talked about. As you can see, that's why a lot of people like St. Cloud, like you start to get tucked away a lot of the major freeways. At least in North Orlando, you have the 4 right here along Lake Mary. So you just hop on that and you just head into downtown. That's why I think North Orlando has a lot of opportunity for those who can do it. Apopka as well. That's where reference to downtown Orlando. So that's why, you know, St. Cloud, everyone, a lot of people ask about it, but they don't think they realize, at least we didn't as we came out here, traveled it. Like, it's really tucked away, but it's an amazing community. Everyone's awesome. Kissimmee is like short-term rental central, but it is a nice community. You know, it's right next to the airport. So if you're someone who thinks you travel a lot, like that could be an awesome option, because then you could rent out your house when you're not living here. So, but that's why you see why people love Dr. Phillips, Winter Garden, Windermere, Horizon West, which is like these cities, but the one that's getting built out currently that'll eventually be just as, you know, awesome as these are. That's why people look at all these cities here, like it's like the trifecta, I call it, because you're right near to all the Disney World resorts. The communities are awesome. Like, they are clean, they're safe, great schools. You can find gated communities here. It really is like an awesome area for people to look at. But like I always say, like, it's not for everyone who doesn't have that budget. But if you have the budget and you're like, I want like the top communities, that is definitely somewhere for you to look at when it comes to making the move out here, and you really should travel them. I mean, we just had a family member who's making the move out here, and they traveled around, and they're like, Winter Garden is awesome. We can get a little bit space in our house. We can get a bigger house. It's an amazing community. We're right next to Lake Apopka. Like, it fits everything we want to do. So that's about it that I have in this video. I'm just going to go over a last thing for people in reference. So that's the downtown. Let's see. Let's pull up Disney World. So that's Disney World. When you see reference to everything, I know wife's a Disney nut. Like, she's obsessed with it. And you can see like Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Horizon West right here, Davenport, Lake Mary. So North Orlando does get away from a lot of those things. But like, one thing I always like to tell people as well, and since we have this up, I'm going to do it anyways, is like, you have so many weird things in Orlando that are just like, we're still looking at everything that we could do, right? So like WonderWorks, if you have kids, I highly recommend you take a trip out here. It is awesome. WonderWorks is just an amazing place to visit with kids. There's so much fun stuff to do. If you want to go to Cape Canaveral and see that museum, it's right over here. And as well, if you're looking to travel to the beach, let's say you're going from, let's say you choose like Dr. Phillips, right? You have a budget, you want one of the top, wealthier communities in Orlando. This is your pick, but you're like, man, I do want to go to the beach occasionally. So you have several options that I always talk about in the videos, and I'm going to go through right now. So Clearwater, as you can see though, so right now is going to be like peak traffic time, right? It's just that time of day. It's what you have to deal with. It could take you 2 hours to get to Clearwater. I will say that if you go like early morning or, at a time where traffic isn't crazy, you can get that about maybe about an hour, 20 minutes, I'd say, to go all the way to Clearwater. But for us who aren't super beach people, this is great because like, we're willing to travel that. Maybe we can spend a night or two staying there. Like, Orlando allows you the option to really get to these places and enjoy that time. Also, as well, is you don't just have Clearwater. Being in Orlando, you could go to Daytona Beach. And obviously, that's going to be a little bit closer than Clearwater, depending on where you live in Orlando. Especially if you live in North Orlando, that's definitely going to be closer to you. But you get the benefit of both coasts, the Atlantic and the Gulf. If you love fishing, doing all those things, it is awesome. Also, if you like me, so like, a lot of us have family members who like, I don't want to be near the city at all. You also have Ocala up here. That's where my dad's moving because, hey, what can I say? We're making the move to Florida, and he's like, I need to make a move out here as well. But in Ocala, you can find a lot more hunting up here as well, and the option to do that. You can head south and go hunting as well. So it's really, there's so much opportunity in this area. And like I tell everyone, like, you really just need to look at all options when it comes to making the move. So, let's get rid of that. So a lot of people as well, and I'm going to finish this video with one last thing before I wrap it up, so I'm going to cover Lakeland as well real quick. So people, and they can't decide between Tampa and Orlando, naturally they're like, well, what's in between both? And that's Lakeland. I will say the safety in Lakeland is still not quite where I enjoy it as, having a family. There are a lot of new construction going on there. You can build, like, there's lots, like, it's definitely a lot of opportunity. And in time, like we always say before, if you ever been to like San Diego or a metropolitan area that was smaller like 20 years ago, this is what Central Florida feels like. It feels like it's building out, and in time it will all be amazingly safe, great schools. Like, it's changed a lot in 10 years. I can't even imagine what an extra 5 or 10 years is going to do for this area. But Lakeland does put you in between both, a little bit closer to Tampa. But I will say though, do consider the safety amount of it. It's a nice area, but it can be a little bit dangerous. So consider travel the area, see how it is, consider it before you make the move out there. Like, you need to travel these areas. For any of these cities, like, it really comes down to what you want as a family, your plan, where you're working. Like, especially even if you're like working for Disney, right? You're making the move out here. Like, they're bringing a ton of communities out here. They're trying to keep well under budget for their employees that are moving here and other people. And you need to just keep that in mind. Like, we traveled all of these cities, all of them. Heck, we even drove past Celebration. So this is like the failed Disney community, awesome community. But that's another community that's there that people loved. And if you're a Disney nut, you know about it. Also, if you have the budget, one of the crazy areas that's on Disney's list is Golden Oaks. And Golden Oaks is going to be $1 million homes, multi-million dollar homes. Like, it is, if you have that budget, like, and you're obsessed with Disney, check it out. Golden Oaks is insane. I don't do more videos on it because a lot of people aren't looking to do that. They're looking like Dr. Phillips and stuff like that. But my wife is like, one day she wants to own a home in Golden Oaks, so we'll see on that one. But yeah, overall, like, you need to take a trip out here, and like, we definitely have helped clients who haven't been able to come out here. But it's if you can make the trip out here, it's so important to travel these areas and make sure that you travel all of them, because like, areas that we thought we would enjoy, you make a trip out here and you're like, no, this is not what I want. And it's just make sure you're good to get that boots on the ground and look around. And then once you decide what you want to go, like, our team is here to help you make that move forward and get it done. So that's everything. If you love this video, let me know in the comments below if you want me to do more detailed videos like this on, going through the maps and individual cities, and I can even go deeper into individual neighborhoods inside these cities. Today, I just want to do a general overview. I hope you got great insight from this. And if you're looking to make the move out here to Orlando, we love helping it. We are always getting calls and reach outs with people making the move out here, and we absolutely love it. So give us a call, text, email, whatever you need to do. And without that, I will see you in the next video.